Hello everyone, Reverend Dominic here again for what will be my last installment on the days of Holy Week, because with this posting I want to capture the last 3 days of Holy Week heading towards Easter morning. Again, you can go back to the previous posts to learn about Holy Sunday, Palm Sunday, Holy Monday, Holy Tuesday, Holy Wednesday, Holy Thursday, which is also called Maundy Thursday, and then today is Good Friday. Today is the most dramatic, most painful day in the Christian faith, the day when we remember the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Let me address the name today, first of all. Good Friday. Why is it called Good Friday when such a horrible thing happened? Well, it's called that because of what Jesus accomplished by dying on the cross. Traditionally, Jesus' death is seen as an act of atonement. That is, by dying, he atoned for the sins of humanity from the first sin of Adam and for all time. But it's important to keep in mind that in our United Church of Christ tradition, you should feel free to decide what the crucifixion means to you. There are multiple ideas out there for defining and redefining atonement. And at some point, if we ever get back here in person at First Congregational Church for Lent, we should have a class about that, because there's some interesting stuff there. But it's called Good Friday because of the atonement that the crucifixion achieved. Another way to think about it is that we couldn't have the resurrection without the crucifixion. We couldn't have Easter Sunday without Good Friday. In any case, the events of Good Friday really begin on the evening of Holy Thursday. Remember, that's the day that we remember when Jesus celebrated the Last Supper. And after that meal, Jesus and his disciples sang a hymn, and they went out to the garden to pray. Now, while in the garden, Judas arrives with a detachment of soldiers and kisses Jesus on the cheek to identify him to the authorities as the one to be arrested. Jesus is arrested, and the rest of the disciples progressively over the course of that night fall away, abandon him, as he endures multiple scam trials and eventually is sentenced to death by crucifixion. Now, for the very devout, the events of Good Friday are timed out. Early on Friday, Judas is overcome with remorse and kills himself. Just before 9 o'clock, Jesus receives his sentence of death. Between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, Jesus endures scourging and mockery and torture by Roman soldiers before he begins his trek, carrying his own cross to the place called Golgotha. And there he is nailed to that cross. And from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, he hangs on that cross, slowly dying. Actually, 3 hours was a comparatively quick death by crucifixion because many people could linger for days on a cross. At 3 o'clock, he commends his soul to God and breathes his last. By 6 p.m. Friday evening, Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea took Jesus' body down from the cross and lay it in a tomb. So those are the overarching events of Good Friday. Truly a painful day. The suffering of Christ is sometimes called the Passion of Christ, which is why Holy Week is sometimes called Passion Week. Each of the Gospels puts emphasis on different aspects of this, so that they're worth checking out. I commend you to do that. The different accounts in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John of all of this. All of this leads to Holy Saturday. Tomorrow is Holy Saturday. Holy Saturday is the day when we remember Jesus' time in the tomb. The tomb where Jesus lay was guarded all day by Roman soldiers. A huge rock was rolled across the entrance of the tomb for good measure, because given Jesus' reputation, the Romans did not want anybody stealing the body and claiming that he was still alive. During this time, tradition says that Jesus descended into hell and freed souls held captive there. It was also during this time, Holy Saturday, that his followers were in shock at what had happened and went into hiding themselves for fear of the authorities and tried to figure out what his death meant what they should do next. And really, that's what we're to do on Holy Saturday too. That is, to really take advantage of Holy Saturday, it helps to try, as best you can, to imagine that you don't know that Easter's coming. To try and feel like the only thing you know is that Jesus is dead, period, full stop. That's it. Of course, we know that another day is coming. Early the next day, which is technically the last day of Holy Week, Easter Sunday. Mary, and some accounts say other women as well, were with her, went to the tomb to anoint Jesus' body. And there they found the soldiers unconscious, that's Matthew's account, and the stone rolled away. Angels are present who announce that Jesus is no longer dead, but is now alive. Then Jesus himself appears as the resurrected one. Taken together, the Gospels say that Jesus made 4 other appearances that day and continued to make appearances, sometimes to multiple witnesses, over the course of the next few weeks. The events of Easter Sunday, there's so much that can be said about them, but they define the Christian faith. The events of Easter Sunday define the Christian faith. They tell us that no crucifixion moment in anybody's life has the last word. Resurrection is always coming. A new day is always coming. This is especially important right now during this pandemic where so many people are sick and dying. We're all isolated. Everything's closed, and it seems like it's going to always be this way. It feels like Good Friday. It feels like Jesus has suffered and died, and that's it. Easter says, hang in there. Easter says the stone will be rolled away and new life will emerge. It says that we belong to eternal life and can never, ever be separated from the love that God has for each and every one of us. So that's an overview of the events of each day of Holy Week. I hope you found this informative, meaningful, helpful in some way, something to help you feel, I hope, the full power of Easter morning. When we think about the things that led up to Easter, you feel the full power of the resurrection in a new way, I think, because we are Easter people, after all. We are people of the resurrection forever and always. Thanks for watching, and I do wish you all the best.